Tractor beams have been a staple of science fiction for almost 100 years. They go all the way back to the work of Amazing Stories magazine and E.E. Smith's classic Spacehounds of IPC, the serials of 1931. They're a metaphor for all of science fiction in that they look to extend our reach beyond what's physical and bring that which we can only imagine closer and within our grasp. And while tractor beam gameplay already has a presence in the persistent universe, work is currently underway bringing its full potential into the hands and spacecraft of the Stanton system, with the next step forward happening in the upcoming Alpha 319.
The current state of the tractor beam is already in a really fun and fitting state. Especially when the tractor beam was released, people got really creative with stacking boxes, creating obstacles for each other, or coming up with very interesting ideas of systemic multiplayer action, like who can destroy the ship and steal as many boxes, like team versus team situation. Or you could even use the grabbed objects as harm, so slap them on someone else's person head and then make them the minimum unconscious. So tractor beams in live game currently are able to move cargo crates onto your cargo grid. So it's fitting the concept of you having a handgun that can do the box interactions, and there's still the grapple mechanic that you can use. So you can pull yourself towards ships or towards bigger objects, heavier objects, to traverse a bit easier in zero-G. The limitations are that it is very, it cannot interact with any items yet. It's just there for boxes, for unconscious bodies or dead bodies.
Do you intend for it to be for unconscious bodies?
I think it's intended to be for unconscious bodies, yes. So where do we want to take tractor beams? We would like to introduce more variances to the FBS tractor beam that you're seeing. So right now you only have the multi-tool that has the tractor beam attachment. So we would like to have a dedicated tool, maybe even upgraded version to the tractor beam attachment. So you might have heavier lifting tractor beam attachment for the multi-tool. So we would really like to dive into more meaningful itemization for the tractor beam, and basically have it believable that you have a big tractor beam to move like very heavy and very big objects, rather than you just have your tiny handgun that you move like 36 square cubic meter boxes around or something like that. There's also the tractor beam in regards to the salvage gameplay. So you have on the salvage ships, like the Reclaimer and the Vulture, you have the functionality to pull in debris. And then in the future, once the salvage feature is progressing, you will be able to munch those pieces and create like additional resources out of that. For vehicle tractor beams, there are basically two things that we would like to see. There's the concept of remote turrets. So something that its full purpose is to basically help the systems that the ship itself has. For example, on the Starfarer, a tractor beam that is able to bring in the mining pods from the prospector, or detach the fuel pods from the fuel pod socket, so you could exchange them, or for example for the hull variances, that you have a remote tractor beam that is able to detach the cargo boxes from the basically cargo holding plates on the Hull series ships. And then there's additionally the concept of the not remote tractor beam, but the fully like ship-driven tractor beam, if so to say, which is more the active one. So best example there is the SRV, for example, that has its full purpose to be to tow ships. So you basically have a stranded ship that you attach to and then move around. But what we also want to have there is some ships might have an indirect remote turret or indirect remote version of a tractor beam, which is more the, let's say, aggressive version. So it's more in combat scenario. You have a situation that someone tries to flee, and you just use the tractor beam to hold that person in place so that the person cannot escape, and you can actually pull it in to grab your bounty. An additional feature that we also see in the future is combining the beams. So you are able to, like, not only one player, once it attaches to a box, that only that player is able to move the box, but like have maybe people targeting the same box and fighting over the box, or even like the body, and then being able to move that around. Maybe even the FPS devices are so big that it is like you at least could be able to grab a small Aurora or Nox or something small. So it's like, it makes sense that you are able to grab that tiny vehicle or tiny ship. With the future being somewhere out there, let's actually talk about what we have in plan for 319. We are actually working on the entire tractor beam thing in regards to the SRV. But one thing that we noticed while working on it, that we actually have one thing that we could split out and actually bring to you a bit earlier than anticipated. And this feature is basically item stripping. So you detach items from certain ports, or you or more use in like riddles that are done by the level design teams.
Once the vehicle is soft dev or unlocked, you're going to be able to, with a tractor beam, find all the good guns and modules like shield generators or life supports or whatever, detach them, put them on your ship, or put them in your cargo hold and sell them later or use them.
So you will use your multi-tool, the very buffed version of the multi-tool, to be detaching those weapons where there is a new weight limit that the multi-tool can now exceed. There's a new volume that the multi-tool can now exceed, to allow you to detach at least like a majority of the items. There might be items hidden behind walls that for sure you will not be able to detach from their socket, but all the items that are visible, and especially the internal components that are size 0, size 1 and size 2, you will be able to detach from their socket. And if you have a spare, for example, sitting around next to you, you can even exchange them. If you have a shield generator and you notice for the situation that I'm right now in, it's not good enough, so you can take out your multi-tool, grab it, pull it out of the socket, and grab the other one that you have, which might be suiting for the situation better, and then just pop it in, and voila, you just changed your shield generator on the fly. For weapons, since they are on the outside, we allow you to detach any weapon that matches the metrics. So I think right now the biggest that you can pop out of the socket are size 5 or size 6. Depends a bit on the shape, because we have different masses and different volumes for the different shapes of the different types that we have. So it's a bit dependent there, but what is important to us on the tractor beam are synergies. And what synergies we have is, or we will have with this feature, a way to restock yourself. Like not restocking with physical ammunition, like you have from your ballistic cannons, but at least from missiles.
You can potentially find a ship that's soft dev or like fully destroyed that has the same type of missile, and you can grab those missiles, attach to your own ship, and use them in the future fight.
In a multi-crew scenario, you can have a friend sitting around with their Cutlass Black full of missiles, and you just take it out of their backside and refill your ship.
With Pyro, obviously, it would be much more interesting because there's like a more limited shop supplies and all of that. But even right now, it's like a pretty valuable option because a lot of those components are actually pretty expensive.
What we also will allow you to do is like strip the items off alive ships, but to prevent other players from randomly stealing the items, we will lock that behind a certain functionality. So right now the discussion is that we will have an unlock key binding that you press, and then you basically allow the items to be detached from their socket. So you press the button, and then anyone in your ship or anyone around the ship can then detach the items, either use them on a different ship, on the same ship again, or sell them for profit.
During the Go No Go, there was like a comment that it is a potential exploit if the parts are too expensive. The exploit is that you can spawn your own ship, claim it, and then sell the parts of it, and then reclaim it, and then kind of do this loop. It would be counted as a crime right now, I think, but it's like, up to debate. So that's something that's being discussed right now.
There's also the synergy with, which ties in very nicely with the mining update that we have been talking about already last time, which is like you can exchange the mining head on the fly. Not only the mining head you will be able to detach and attach, but also the sub-items attached to the mining head. So if you have, for example, a brand module that just depleted and you have a spare one with you, just grab your tractor beam, pull it out of the cargo hold and attach it again to the mining head. So you restocked your brand module, for example. Not only we have the synergy now for the mining, but also for refueling. So if you have a Starfarer that has fuel pods and they are empty, and you just stumbled over an NPC or another player that has a fully filled Starfarer, you either negotiate to buy one of their fuel pods to get it over and attach it to your ship, or you find another way to actually get the fuel pod with the fuel inside and attach it to your Starfarer, and voila, you have a Starfarer that is now able to refuel other players without you paying any money for the fuel that or maybe you paid a bit of money for it to be attached to your ship.
We also have some quality of life stuff. So if you have a gun and you move your mouse left, right, the gun will rotate this way always. Before, rotating was very tricky. Now it's a bit more intuitive, at least from my perspective.
Because we also did salvage with the same concept as we did mining with the sub-items and so on. Yes, you will also be able to detach the sub-items on the salvage head or the salvage head in the future itself and exchange the modules as you like and as needed. So this is the next step we will take with the tractor beam for 3.19. And there are more to come. What I'm personally looking forward to the most is how it actually ties in with all the other systems. And I think that is also the most joy that I already get with this release for 3.19, which is how it already well interacts with the refueling that we did, with the mining update, because there we talked about how important it is now that the items are fitting the rocks. And now it is even in our QATR or in our internal playstations, we now have a fully stacked Cutlass Black with all the mining heads there, and we just swap them out regularly, and it's really fun. It feels like this is how it's supposed to be, and it's not anymore like this weird menu gameplay. It's real, it's physical. You have your tractor beam in your hand, you have the item lying in front of you, you pull out the item from the socket and you attach the new one. So I'm really looking forward to what you will come up with. So right now we are not trying to limit it too much. We might reconsider that once we see you bringing havoc to our game, but for now, yeah, once 3.19 is out there, be creative, destroy the world, whatever.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that tractor beams will add additional functionality to the salvage gameplay that came online in Alpha 3.18, as well as new mining improvements arriving in 3.19. That its scope will continue to expand into better cargo and vehicle options in the releases beyond that. And that now is definitely the winter of our Torsten content. Because he's done 3 episodes in 5 weeks. 4 if you count SCL. I owe that guy a beer. 2 for the bad Shakespeare pun I just did. And remember, for continuing updates on the post-launch status of Alpha 3.18, keep an eye on the robertspaceindustries.com website for details. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week. You've seen people say that we rely too heavy on beam gameplay, that everything's a beam.
Oh, yeah.
Salvage is a beam.
Yeah.
Mining is a beam.
Actually, we internally talk about
is a fucking beam. What do you say to people who say that we're beam citizen?
they are right.